Alrighty, welcome to the 102nd edition of Before the Battle here live on YouTube. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. I'm joined as always by Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com. Unfortunately, Wes Riddle of MMAsucker.com could not join us. I think he was here the previous 2 weeks, so 2 weeks in a row is really all Wes can do nowadays. Jed, you are here though. You live up to my expectations, to our huge fan base's expectations. How are you doing tonight? I know a bit tired.
I'm extremely tired, but ready to make these discussions happen. And I got to correct myself. I was tired until I remembered that we were doing this, and that your boy is the champ yet again.
Again.
So
Again.
all three of the belts right here with me. I'm just going to segue us right on into it. We don't have to dilly. We don't have to dally. The fights are tomorrow. It's late. We got shit to do. Your winner for picks, Jed Meshew, with a record of 7-5. Not a great showing, mind you, but enough to get the job done because both you and Wes went 6-6, Nikolai. So by virtue of just one pick, that was enough to get the job done. My misses were Perry, OSP, McMahon, Prachnio, and Shelton. Wes missed all of those, but also missed Josh Emmett. He did take Josh Emmett in the main event. Now, to be fair to Wes, he
didn't really pick Josh Emmett.
He did pick Josh Emmett. He said it.
He
committed
did, yes.
to it. He said that he thought Jeremy Stephens was going to win, but he was going to pick Josh Emmett to make things interesting. That did not work out for him because he wanted to try and take the belt from me. You have to remember, even if he had picked Jeremy Stephens, we'd be tied. But since I had the belt, I would still retain the belt because a tie goes to the champion. So he took a gamble to try and get the thing done. It backfired, so he tied with you instead of with me. Nicholas, you missed on Doan, Prachnio, McMahon, Barrow, Perry, and OSP. And then you got the other half from right. Our performance bonuses, not a good showing. Everybody missed everything except for one underdog pick of the week. It was this guy right here. I said Brian Kelleher was going to upset Hidden Barrow, and he did, taking a clear unanimous decision. My underdog pick of the week, Spikes. That nails our bonus section. Your fight of the night that week was Joban Saunders. Your performances went to Alir Latifi and Jeremy Stephens. And to round things out, our DraftKings total scores. Your winner, me, 340.5 points. Nicholas, you came in second, 318.5 points. And Wes bringing up the rear, 278.5 points. So all three belts firmly in my control. I know Wes is here in spirit, if not in actuality. Let's see if any of you guys can take the run of dominance that has been Jed Meshew in the year 2018.
We sure will. We'll find that out tomorrow night. We have UFC 222 going down from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, with the Women's Featherweight Championship on the line when Chris Cyborg, the champion, defends her title for the second time against now, I guess, former Invicta FC Bantamweight champion Yana Kunitskaya. We also have what Ariel Helwani, your colleague, will probably consider the people's main event, Frankie Edgar taking on Brian Ortega in the evening's co-feature. That's a really, really fun one at featherweight. Almost certainly a number one contender fight. The winner will most likely go on to fight the champion, Max Blessed Holloway, once he is recovered from his leg injury. We also have Sean O'Malley on the card. We have Mackenzie Dern making her debut. So not the best pay-per-view card, but there are still some fun fights in here that I think we might end up seeing a decent night of fights. Is it $60 worth? 65, 70? Yeah. I think that's up for debate. It's better than last one, 221, but it's certainly not the strongest showing we've seen on pay-per-view, even this year. And that doesn't say a whole lot, considering 220, besides the title fights, and wasn't that stacked. 221, not stacked at all, and 222, not a whole lot better. With that, let's go right down to the very bottom of the card with the UFC Fight Pass early prelims, which kick off at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific. We start in the 205-pound division with Jordan Johnson taking on the returning Adam Milstead. Jordan Johnson has been out of action for a little bit, but not nearly as much as the prototype Adam Milstead. He last fought in February of 2017. He was TKO'd by now current heavyweight contender Curtis Razor Blades. He suffered a nasty knee injury in that one. I think an ACL tear, maybe his meniscus and MCL as well. I don't remember the specifics, but it was bad, bad, bad. And he's been out of action since that fight. So it's been a while. Do you like Jordan Johnson, the sizable favorite here, or does Adam Milstead get back on track as an underdog?
Give me Jordan Johnson here. Basically a striker versus a grappler. Johnson's probably just going to power double him, come through. A little bit interested to see if Milstead can keep it up right for even a little bit of time. I do think he's a better boxer, but I just don't think that's likely. I don't love the fact that he's dropping down. He says he's going to make the weight. I'm sure he made the weight. Looked okay on the scale, but I don't know. He's going to what's probably at least a more athletic division, and this was a guy who was a plus athlete as a heavyweight. I mean, I know light heavyweight's a bad division, but he might have just been better served to. I don't feel like his issues at heavyweight were that the guys are too big for him. So we'll see what happens here. But give me Jordan Johnson with a ground and pound stoppage in the third round. Actually, let's just say unanimous decision, a boring grind unanimous decision.
Yeah, give me Jordan Johnson here. He's a pretty big betting favorite for a good reason. I think I saw him right around 3-1, right in around there. Minus 260 on UFC.com. I think that might be a little wider on some other betting sites. Well, betting sites because UFC.com. I don't know where they get their odds from. Maybe 5 times. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I think Jordan Johnson does get the job done. Adam Milstead is pretty good on the feet. He's a better striker in this one, but. And the thing is, we sort of look back on the Blades Milstead fight and think, okay, so Jordan Johnson's going to do the same thing. Not quite. Curtis Blades is obviously a lot bigger than Jordan Johnson. He's a natural heavyweight. Johnson is not. Milstead is, of course, dropping down here. And Curtis Blades is one of the best heavyweights right now in the UFC. Jordan Johnson, sure, he's undefeated, and light heavyweight always needs prospects like Johnson is, maybe, but I don't know if we see Johnson ever reach that sort of high level that we've seen Blades at recently. So I think it'll be a closer fight than that one, especially because Johnson is smaller than Blades. But I think as far as how it plays out, it's kind of similar. I think Johnson will be able to dominate Milstead with the wrestling. So give me Jordan Johnson with a fairly lackluster but one-sided UD win.
And it should be said, our colleague Wes Riddle seems to agree with us. He also has Johnson with unanimous decision win. I'm going to take the reins from you here, Nikolai, and move us along because we are really trying to make moves tonight. Your next fight, Cody Stamann, Kid Lightning, I believe, is the nom de guerre he has adopted, which an interesting choice considering the dude is built like a brick shithouse. So not entirely sure why Lightning would, instead of maybe Thunder, might be a better nickname for him. But he's taking on kind of perennial bantamweight contender Brian Caraway, who I say
Brian
perennial.
Caraway is Kid Lightning.
Oh, is Brian Caraway's Kid Lightning? Okay.
Cody Stamann is
I
the
never
Spartan.
heard that. Oh, well, the Spartan's a way better name for Cody Stamann. That makes way more sense. I had no idea Brian Caraway was Kid Lightning. That's an idiotic name.
You just called him Mr. Tate. Let's be honest.
No, I didn't, because also that's a really, really stupid name. The point being, perennial bantamweight contender, except for he's not perennial because he hasn't fought in 2 years, so he's coming back off a long layoff against Cody Stamann. Big, kind of a hotshot prospect now after unseating Tom Duquesnoy earlier. So Tom Duquesnoy, also a kid. This is the second kid Stamann is fighting under the UFC banner. How does that play out for you, Nikolai?
I'm going to go with the less proven Cody Stamann here, also known as Kid Lightning for Jed, but more so known as a Spartan for every other fight fan. I like Cody Stamann here, not by a lot, just because I think where he does his best work is probably where KOA does his best work as well. I mean, Cody Stamann, he is a pretty good striker himself. He's not bad on the feet, but we see his best work on the ground in the wrestling department. He's really good with those takedowns. That's how he ultimately got the job done in both of his UFC victories. He made his debut last summer against Tyrion Ware, and the striking exchanges were relatively close, but he dominated on the ground. And then the Tom Duquesnoy fight, you know what? I actually haven't seen it in full because I missed most of that card, UFC 216 last October. But from what I remember, from what I heard at least, from what I saw, Stamann was able to win the fight mostly with his wrestling as well. So the guy is pretty good on top. We don't see many finishes from him. Similar game from with Brian Caraway. He's more of a gritty guy. He's a more submission based grappler, I think, not as much of a wrestler. But I think Cody Staman's a bit more well rounded. I think he can or does have the advantage on the feet, and so I think he has more ways to win here. I think ultimately he'll be able to take Caraway down, and Caraway won't be able to work off his back or reverse the position and get on top and look for a choke. So I like Cody Stamann here, not by a lot. Brian Caraway is still a top contender, but I do worry about the layoff. He's been out since the Aljamain Sterling fight, which was back in May, I think, of 2016. So it's been quite a while for Kid Lightning. So give me Cody Stamann here by unanimous decision. Jed, take it away.
I'm torn on this. I am going to take Cody Stamann basically purely off the fact that Brian Caraway hasn't fought. No, just he hasn't fought in 2 years. I don't think Brian Caraway's old to the point where that age gap would make an enormous difference. I think that if Brian Caraway comes in and looks like the Brian Caraway that beat Aljamain Sterling, he wins this fight. You just can't feel confident that he can do that. I mean, he hasn't fought in 2 years. Like it's a lot to be asking for here. I like Stamann a lot. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think this is a kid who's going to hang around at the upper tiers of the division for a while with his skill set. I do think that if Caraway comes in looking like Caraway, like the Caraway that we know, it's probably a little bit of a bad matchup for him, just because maybe just a little too much too soon. Thrown into the deeper waters, but a little bit before he's got the seasoning for it. I think Caraway can win the scrambles. And at least be competitive on the feet. Stamann's not like a great boxer, and Caraway's a really good defensive wrestler. So if you told me that I was going to get top form Brian Caraway, I'm definitely taking him, especially at underdog odds. I think the odds are even considering the layoff. I think the odds are off here. But since I can't be sure of that, I'm going to take just Stamann's fought 6 times since Caraway last fought. Like, I'm just going to take the activity and believe that that's probably good enough to get this hand raised in the end. So give me Stamann by decision. And Westwood will also have Stamann by decision. So all of us are on all the same guys so far. We're about to get some interesting action.
We might. We'll see. We move to the welterweight division, up quite a few pounds. We go to Quicksand himself, Mike Pyle, for his so-called retirement bout. Of course, that doesn't end up being many people's retirement fights the first time they say that, but hopefully with this guy being over the age of 40, this is his last fight. I don't want to see him fight anymore after this, win or lose. Would it be nice going off a win? Sure, but I mean, he's taking on Zach Otto, and although Otto isn't known for his knockout power, Mike Pyle doesn't have much of a chin anymore. He's kind of a done fighter. If no disrespect to him, he's had a great career, but I'm just sort of stating the facts. Do you think Zach Otto gets the job done here, or does Pyle turn back the clock a little bit?
I am taking Mike Pyle.
Wow.
I know he's actually a fairly sizable underdog here, and maybe this is just saccharine nostalgia talking, but I tend to think that when a fighter announces ahead of time that they're going to retire, that this is their last go around, it usually feels to me like they have a good performance. Mike Pyle at his best was certainly a better fighter than Zach Otto is. He is definitely shop worn, but I'm basically thinking he's going to come out here and he's going to literally lay it all on the line. He's going to fight like there's no tomorrow, because there won't be. This is his last go around, and let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, Mike Pyle, yeah, he hasn't looked great, but look at the people he's lost to. The Jordan Meehan loss is the only one that hurts, but that was also like 4 years ago when Jordan Meehan wasn't as bad as Jordan Meehan is. Lost, like, losing to Colby Covington, not a big deal. Alberto Mina, pretty good fighter. Alex Garcia, certainly a dangerous fighter. Like, I think Zach Otto is clearly a tier below that caliber of fighter here. And I think Mike Pyle just he's a guy with a lot of skill. It is purely if he can take getting hit on the chin. Like, that's it. If he can absorb some strikes, because it's not like Otto's a huge hitter. I think that he has got a crafty enough submission game. He is super nasty with elbows in the interior. I just think I think he's going to come out and do it. This is his last go around. I think the stars are going to align. We're going to get one of the few times in MMA, every once in a while, the sport rewards us for our fandom. We're going to get Mike Powell going out on top in an emotional, exciting win. Give me Mike Powell, the underdog, by, I'm going to say he's going to hurt him on the feet with an elbow in the clinch and then lock up a front choke or something like that, submission in the second round. Our boy Wes Riddle disagrees, though. He's got Otto by unanimous decision, so he thinks it's seeing the final bell. Nicholas, you have to arbitrate. Who's right?
Well, it's going to be Wes. I am not nearly as confident or optimistic I should be, or I should say, of Mike Powell's final final kick at the cat. I think he's going to get knocked out. I don't have much to say about this fight. I don't think Zach Otto is a great fighter. I think he has enough skill to beat a washed up Mike Powell who doesn't have a chin. Zach Otto isn't known for knockout power, but was Alex Morono known for his finishing capabilities when he choked out Josh Berkman in the first round last weekend? No, not really. And so I kind of compare both of those fights. Sure, stylistically, they're slightly different, but old man versus not great fighter wins. Give me Zach Otto by knockout in round number 1. We move to the FS1 televised prelims. They kick off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific with a banger at middleweight. CB Dalloway, Hector Lombard. Who is more done?
I'm taking Dalloway, and I don't feel good about it. I think Hector Lombard hasn't won a fight in 4 years. Now, this is a fight that should stack up well for him to beat. Dalloway gets hit a bunch, and I don't think Dalloway can take Lombard down early. So it's basically, the question is, can Dalloway's chin hold up for 5 minutes? That's all it needs to do. If Dalloway's chin can last for 5 minutes against Lombard winging big shots at him, then he probably can start working takedowns, because Hector Lombard will gas, because that's what he does. And then Dalloway can sit on him for the back 10 minutes and win the fight. And so I'm going to believe that can happen, or maybe he just can get a takedown earlier than that. But I'm in no way going to be shocked if CB Dalloway runs face forward into a big fucking bolt of a right hand from Hector Lombard, and Lombard finally breaks his winning streak. He's still a plus athlete despite the fact that he's 50. So yeah, give me CB Dalloway, because I cannot trust Hector Lombard at all for my second and it's a second underdog pick in a row, so that's kind of frisky, I guess. Give me CB Dalloway by unanimous decision, and Wes Riddle agrees. We've got 2 of us picking the underdog. Is it unanimous, Nikolai?
It is not. It is not. Give me Hector Lightning / Showweather Lombard, whatever you want to call him, to win for the first time since UFC 171. The only reason I remember that exact card, it was on March 15th, because right above me is a poster for that card. Johnny Hendricks, Robbie Lawler 1, Carlos Condit, Tyron Woodley 1, and yeah. That's why I remember. That was, of course, against Jake Shields. He beat Josh Berkman, but then, tested positive, and that was a no contest. Here, I'm just counting on Hector Lombard's power in round number 1. If he doesn't knock him out, knock CB Dalloway out in round number 1, Dalloway's probably going to grind on him for the last 2 rounds and win kind of a bad decision. Not a bad decision as if should have gone the other way, but just not a super fun fight the last couple rounds. It's so tough to call. It's really a coin flip fight. If the odds makers wanted to make this minus 110 a piece, wouldn't complain. Super close fight, just because you can't really. I mean, against almost any other middleweight, I would pick against these fighters, and so who do you go with? It's really tough to say. CB Dalloway, he's quite a bit bigger, and so I think that could be an advantage. Probably will be. Should go to the mat, but. Otherwise, Lombard should be able to close the distance within 5 minutes or in the first 5-minute frame, I should say, and land something. I think that'll happen, but in no way am I confident. So give me Showweather, give me Hector Lombard by knockout, first win in 4 years, but if it goes the other way, don't color me surprised. We move to a bantamweight fight that is actually really fun. So we're coming off 2 kind of depressing fights almost to a really fun bantamweight matchup that was supposed to happen in Belém, Brazil last month, February 3rd. That was the Machida Anders card. John the Magician Dodson taking on Pedro the Young Punisher Munoz. This, of course, supposed to happen last month. Munoz missed weight. Dodson said no to the fight. Now it is happening everyone made weight. No worries there. Dodson, Munoz, we're running it back. Who wins?
I'll give the same analysis I gave last time. Um, I'm going to pick John Dodson. I personally have scored both of John Dodson's losses since moving back up to bantamweight as wins for him. I think if the judges were a little better in those fights, or sided with me more, we're talking about a dude who has a almost bulletproof case to be the next title challenger for DJ Dillashaw right now. And instead he's fighting Pedro Munoz. This is going to be a striking match, and I think Dodson has actively been improving his striking game over the last few years. I think he's just a more disciplined fighter now, much better on the counter, much better moving and not getting drawn into fights that where people can just outland him a bunch. It creates issues for him on the judges' scorecards if he doesn't have the big potent offense that catches eyeballs, but I'm going to assume the judges are good at their jobs. I know that that's a big assumption. Munoz is probably going to be a little more active, but I think Dodson is going to land really sharp, really clean counters as Munoz walks in and just land the bigger strikes and do more damage over the course of 15 minutes. Give me John Dodson by decision. Wesley Riddle agrees. He also has a Dodson UD.
Well, we are indeed unanimous on this one. First, unanimous since I guess the Fight Pass prelims, 10 minutes ago. I like the magician here, John Dodson, to get the job done over Pedro Munoz. Basically, I agree with most of your points. Dodson's a better striker. Munoz, if he gets him down to the ground, Dodson could be in trouble. We don't see Dodson get into too much trouble on the ground anyways. I think he could survive if Munoz gets him down. Definitely wouldn't be an ideal position, but you never know. But should it stay on the feet for most of the fight, for the majority of the fight, which I do believe it will, Dodson's just going to piece him up on the feet. Munoz, he's getting better on the feet. I think he's getting better as a striker, but by no means is he at John Dodson's caliber. Dodson's a real striker. He's really good on the feet and just a really good, well-rounded fighter. I mean, as you said, should scorecards have gone his way, he could be the next title challenger. For what it's worth, you scored both the Moraes and Lineker fights for him. I scored the Lineker fight for him, but not Moraes. But even still, Moraes is fighting Jimmy Rivera. That might be a number one contender.
He 100% beat John Lineker.
Yes,
it is unquestionable that he beat that, and those are bad scorecards. The Moraes, if you scored it for Moraes, I have no issue. It was a very close fight. I personally thought Dodson won.
Yeah.
He did beat John Lineker and got robbed.
This is a different fight, though, because he's by easily the better striker, and that's where it's going to play out. So give me John Dodson. I think it's a pretty clear fight. If Munoz somehow taps him out just because Munoz is on a roll right now, I won't be shocked, but I'd be a little surprised, to be honest. We move on to the lightweight division. Benny Dariush is taking on newcomer Alexander the Great Hernandez. This was of course supposed to be a pretty fun fight between Beneil Dariush and Bobby Green that I was looking forward to. Bobby Green got hurt, and Alex Hernandez, I believe, undefeated. I don't see his record here on UFC.com. 8-1, close enough. So, Beneil Dariush is a big favorite. I don't know tons about Alex Hernandez. I don't know if you have done your research on the newcomer, on the great, but if you have, cool. Does he have a chance here? If not, I assume you're going Dariush.
I mean, I'm going Dariush, certainly. I think Alex Hernandez is actually going to be a good fighter, and if he had a full training camp, I mean, I'm still going to pick Dariush because of the clear gap in where they are in their careers, but he could at least be a lot more interesting if he had a full training camp, just because Dariush does have a history of having cardio troubles, and Hernandez is that kind of big hulking wrestler who kind of wears people down and drags them, throws them around the cage and drags them around and does, just leans on them. So that could maybe make it an interesting thing. But realistically, I think Dariush is sort of just better all around here. Alexander is going to have to get on top and hope he doesn't get tapped in doing so. And that just seems like a bad choice, especially given the time that the short notice for this. I think he's had a week to know that he was going to come in, which isn't enough to really do anything but cut weight. So yeah, give me Benny Dariush. I think maybe Hernandez guts it out. just comes in and plays a more conservative approach, gets a UFC fight under his belt, and gets invited back for jumping in and doing the right thing, helping out the organization or whatever. So I'll even lean to say Dariush by decision instead of a submission. Wes Riddle agrees he has Dariush, but he's taking a second round sub. Is it unanimous, Nikolai?
Yes, it is unanimous, of course. I'm definitely not going Alex Hernandez here. I've heard good things. I agree with your sentiment that he could be a good fighter in the future, but Beneil Dariush is a tough debut for just about anybody in the lightweight division, to be quite honest. The guy is a really talented fighter, Beneil Dariush. That is, he only loses to the best of the best. He's coming off a knockout law. No, he's coming off the draw to Evan Dunham. So again, that was on the card that I missed. I don't know much about what happened in that one. Appeared to be close, unless the decision was bad.
No, he came out really, really well and beat the shit out of Evan Dunham, and then got tired and probably still should have won, but it wasn't. I mean, he just gassed.
Fair enough. Before that, he was knocked out by Edson Barboza. No shame in that. It was a flying knee, one of the best knockouts last year. The guy's a really talented fighter. There's no other way to put it. He's good on the ground. He's good on the feet. He'll have his mess ups here and there. Getting choked up by Michael Chiesa isn't the worst thing that could have happened to him, but it kind of was a not great loss on his record. Not it wasn't a terrible loss, but you get the point. I just think he will run all over Alex Hernandez here. No disrespect to Hernandez. Admittedly, I don't know tons about the guy. I've heard good things, but not enough to pick him against a proven lightweight contender, ranked number 12, Beneil Dariush. So give me Dariush by second round. Let's go with submission. We move on to the debut of the highly anticipated debut of Jiu-Jitsu ace Mackenzie Dern. She's taking on Ashley Yoder in the strawweight division. Dern, of course, and unsurprisingly, is a big favorite here. Betting wise, I would assume you're picking her, Jed.
Oh yeah, I'm taking Dern. The odds here are insane. If clearly nobody's ever watched Mackenzie Dern fight, she's not good at fighting. She's not supposed to be. She's been fighting for 2 years or however long it's been. She makes bad decisions in the cage. She is a terrible striker. She's going to lose, and she's going to lose pretty soon. And people are going to be like, "Oh, hype train derailed." I'm like, no, she got way rushed, way fast because she has a name or whatever. But not everybody's BJ fucking Penn. Not everybody can just be like, "Oh yeah, I just walk in off the street and I'm really good," despite the fact that my entire background is grappling. She's a really good grappler, and if I think the Yoder matchup works well for her because Yoder is okay at kickboxing, but really Yoder does her better work on the floor, and I think eventually Yoder is going to get sucked into. I mean, frankly, Dern can just take her down, but if for some reason Dern can't, somehow I still think Yoder might just find herself reflexively going to the floor, and then she's going to get twisted up like a fucking pretzel. So give me Mackenzie Dern with a submission. She'll get a win. I hope that they learn from their million mistakes and book her slowly, because she doesn't need to. If you give her 2 fights to get her to a title shot, it's insane. Valentina Shevchenko would kill this woman. So it's just take your fucking time with her. Let her develop. Ashley Yoder's a fine start. Match her against the other competitors from the tough house, because most of those fighters are terrible. So, and most of them don't have ground games at all, so she can fight them, and that will be fine. But yeah, so yeah, Mackenzie Dern submission. I'm going to say within the first 4 minutes. Wes Riddle has a second round sub for her.
Yeah, nothing else to add. Give me Mackenzie Dern submission round 2. Yoder's nothing great anywhere. She's never been submitted, but there's always a first time for everything. She's never fought as high level of a jiu-jitsu artist as Dern, not even close. And so give me the very hyped up Mackenzie Dern to win her UFC debut. And as I said, or as you said, I should say, I really do hope that they push her. They push her and promote her, but move her up the rankings very slowly. She's still young. She's inexperienced. And let's be honest, she's not a fantastic fighter yet. She could be. I honestly think she really will be, but not right now. She needs more time to develop, and I'm worried the UFC doesn't give her that time, but fingers are crossed, because they need stars and they don't know how to build them up. So that's my 2 cents on Dern's debut, but I do think she gets the job done. Moving on to the 5-fight pay-per-view main card. It kicks off at the regular time, the very much too late time of 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We go up 20 pounds to the women's bantamweight division. The returning former title challenger, Kat Alpha Zingano. She's taking on rising contender Caitlin Vieira. Zingano is number 6. Vieira is number 5. She is the slight betting favorite. Who do you pick here, Jed?
I think Vieira is going to beat the shit out of Kat Zingano. And I like Kat Zingano. Like, don't get me wrong. She's the last person to beat the champ. But, like, come on. Like, Kat Zingano is, 1, 35. 2, has had a history of kind of injuries and struggles that she's dealt with. And Caitlin Vieira is a decade younger and entering her physical prime, a really good athlete, like a physical specimen. And like, if we're being honest with ourselves, half of Kat Zingano's like skill and success came from the fact that she was way more ready to be fighting people. Like she was way more athletic and way more physical, like way more ready to just kind of put that on women. And like she's not gonna get to come out here like when Kat. Think of the Rousey fight. Like Zingano had been dump trucking people, right? And just kind of like that because that's her game. Like she just overpowers them. And she came right at Rousey and realized, oh shit, here's somebody that can't overpower me, and got tapped out in 14 seconds. Or however, I think it was 14, right?
Yeah.
Like she can't overpower Caitlin Vieira. She can't run right at her and do that. She can get fucking head caved in. And I think that's what's gonna happen. Like Caitlin Vieira is still a work in progress, but the physical tools are not what she lacks at this point. I think Kat Zingano is going to try and come out and be alpha, and she's going to be beta, and Caitlin Vieira is going to at some point get on top and rain hellfire onto Kat Zingano in the first 10 minutes. So give me Caitlin Vieira with a TKO stoppage in the second round. And Wes Riddle disagrees. You get to arbitrate again. He is believing in the return of Alpha Cat. He is taking Kat Zingano by unanimous decision. Who's right?
I think you're right, Jed. First time I said that tonight, I think, when we're talking about who's on the island. I like Caitlin Vieira here as well. I like her maybe by stompage too. She's looked really good. I mean, I've always, ever since I first saw her fight, which I believe was her debut in the UFC, which was, give me a second, that was against Kelly Fashos, October 1st, 2016. That was the very night that Lineker beat Dodson, as we talked about earlier. She then defeated Ashley Evans-Smith, and more recently, September 2017, she tapped out Sarah McMahon, biggest win of her career by a mile, and that really cemented her as a top-ish contender at bantamweight, considering the division's not very good right now. She's definitely right up there. And with the win over Kat Zingano, even though Zingano hasn't looked good as of late and has been out since July 2016, still a big win and might just get her a title shot over the winner of Nunes Pennington. I would like the winner of this to fight Marion Renault. But as far as the matchup goes, I just can't trust Zingano coming off such a long layoff. She's had personal issues, and Vieira's, I feel like she's on a different level right now. Zingano, she's good. She's still talented, I suspect, and she's always going to be remembered as one of the best at women's bantamweight. But I feel like she's in the generation of women's bantamweights that have moved on. The Ronda Rouseys, the Sarah McMahons. Even though McMahon's around, she's not doing so well. The Sarah Kaufmans, the Misha Tates, they're all moved on mostly. Ronda Rousey's in WWE, Kaufman's in Invicta, McMahon's struggling in the UFC, and Tate's retired. I throw Zingano in that category. I think some fighters have gotten better, and I think we'll see that. So give me Caitlin Vieira. I'll go with a third round submission. Caitlin Vieira, biggest win of her career over Alpha Cat Zingano. All right, we move to the heavyweights. Oh, God. Stefan Struve taking on former champion Andrei Arlovsky. Stefan Struve is the betting favorite at, let me check here. Stefan Struve is minus 180 with the comeback on Arlovsky at plus 155. Do you take the underdog here, Jed, or does the skyscraper get back into the winning column?
I have no idea. I've been wrestling with this one more so than any other fight on the card. I've always been an Andrei Arlovski believer. I don't know why, just because I think he always had the raw tools and was just could have been like the greatest heavyweight ever, but for a few fatal flaws. And so I always want to see the best in him. I did pick him to beat Albini, so there's that for me. But I mean, he's not a great athlete anymore, and that was a large part of his game. But to me, it's just like Stephen Struve just leaves his fucking head right there to get punched. Like, just right there to get punched in the fucking face. And Andrei Arlovski, for whatever foibles he has, can still punch you really fucking hard in the face. And it makes me think that I'm going to take Struve because I think, I mean, either guy can win the stand up because Arlovski's chin is so bad at this point that Struve can drop him. I mean, Struve knocked out fucking Stipe, for heaven's sake. But I also think that Arlovski has been gassing out a ton lately, like just looking old, like looking like shitty heavyweight way more than he ever used to, really. And two, he's winding up on the ground a lot more too, like there's a lot more of the grappling aspects, and I think Struve's better grappler than he is. Like I just think that that's probably true, unless Arlovski gets like some type of leg lock, like throws way back and locks up with those big gargantuan limbs of Struve. I think Struve can just kind of work his way to a top position and beat the shit out of him. So give me Stefan Struve by TKO in the third round. Wes Riddle agrees he has Struve also winning, but it's a second round TKO. What say you, Nikolai?
Well, it's kind of a competitive fight. I feel like it probably won't be when we see it tomorrow night, but on paper it's so tough to call because Andrei Arlovski, well, he's Andrei Arlovski. He's kind of done, and I feel like I've used that word way too much tonight, but there's just so many fighters that are done. Again, no disrespect to them. They're all great. They all have been great fighters, but some of them just aren't great anymore, and that's okay. People get old. People move on. People can't fight forever. We get that. That's fine. Stefan Struve, it's still amazing to me that this guy is before he's younger than 30. If not, he is right around there, which is incredible to me. It's really, really crazy. The amount of damage he's taken, though, he is by no means a young 29-year-old, 30-year-old. He's like a 50-year-old, 30-year-old, if that makes any sense. I think he'll get the job done here. I like Stefan Struve to probably finish Andrei Arlovski. I could see this being a super boring fight. Go to the judges, probably Stefan Struve's way, but not be entertaining and very forgettable. I could see a stoppage here just because both. I mean, do I need to say more? It's Stefan Struve versus Andrei Arlovski. Anything could happen. Arlovski could crack him, although he doesn't hit the hardest anymore. Stefan Struve could choke him out. He could TKO him. I don't know what will happen. I think Stefan Struve will win, but how can I go that far? I don't know. I think he'll finish Arlovski. I think it'll be a gritty affair. I think it'll be not a great fight. I'll go Struve by a third round finish, and if I gotta get specific and say sub or TKO, I'll go TKO. I'll go ground and pound TKO in the third round, and that'll do it for me. We move on to the bantamweight division. Pretty fun one at 135 pounds. We got Sean O'Malley taking on Andre Sukumta. Who do you like here?
Give me Sugar Sean O'Malley, man. I just have never thought much of Sukumta. And I think Sean O'Malley is really, really talented. He doesn't have defense. He doesn't give a fuck about defense. Not even going to try and add some at this point in time. But you are seeing a rapid development in his game, time in and time out. And he looks like a guy who's got that special kind of talent. I can't speak for the rest of the thing. People seem to really like him because he smokes pot. I don't get it. I don't know. It just doesn't cool. He smokes pot, so just like everyone, it's not that exciting. But good for him. He's making a name and marketing himself in a functional way. That's a strong move. I'm way more interested in the fact that frankly, I said this the last time we talked about him, and I think it holds up. He looks like a baby Conor McGregor. Like, he's not quite as potent offensively, but to me, when I watch his game, I think that's dude who saw Conor McGregor fighting and thought, I want to fight like that guy. And so he started developing a game around the style of Conor McGregor. You see it in the way he moves, the way he steps off lines and throws his hands. Everything kind of feels McGregor-esque to me. And look, being a baby Conor McGregor is a pretty potent offensive weapon. Andre Sukumta is going to get shots in because that's just what happens against Sugar Sean O'Malley. But I think O'Malley's going to land way more of them. He's way more active, and I think overall they're going to be more damaging. Give me O'Malley for a slight upset. That is my third underdog pick of the card. By the way, you've yet to take one. So Sean O'Malley with a third round TKO. We have dissension again, though, because Wes Riddle is taking Andre Sukumta with a third round TKO. Who's right? Who's wrong? Tell me. I bet you're taking Sukumta because you only pick favorites, you coward.
Well, I'll be a coward, and that's sort of where I'm at. I'm tired, I'm cowardish, and that's okay for me as long as I win picks, which probably won't happen because I pick many favorites compared to underdogs, and I still come up short. So I don't know what to do. Eventually, come June, come December, if we're still doing the show, which I assume we will be, I'll just be blanket picking all the underdogs and probably winning all the championships. So I don't know, but give me Andre Sukumta here to defeat Sean O'Malley. I was mostly impressed with O'Malley's debut against Terry Ware. Andre Sukumta has had an interesting run in the UFC. He fell short to Albert Morales. He fell short to the tough winner that his name always escapes me, Alejandro Perez, and he defeated Luke Sanders in a must-win fight back in December of last year. So he hasn't had the best run, but man, that win over Luke Sanders was a big one. Not only did he need it, but Luke Sanders is a pretty good guy. I mean, he's a good fighter himself, and so I think Sukumta's a good fighter. I think he's a solid fighter, and I don't know what to make of Sean O'Malley quite yet. Like, I was impressed with his debut, but my concerns were striking defense he doesn't care about, and against Andre Sukumta, who hits pretty hard and who is a fairly accurate striker with knees, especially knees. I mean, not especially, but he can mix other things in elbows, knees. He's not just a boxer. This guy's going to be dangerous against Sugar Sean. Sean O'Malley is taller. He's a bit longer, but Sukumta has a pretty long reach as well. So I don't know how much O'Malley can use his range here, and he got tired in that debut against Tyron Ware. If he gets tired against Tyron Ware, I have no reason to think that he won't against Andre Sukumta. And although he basically recovered because Tyron Ware gassed as much or more than he did, I don't know if Sukumta does. And so I think this will be a very competitive fight. I think this will be a very fun fight. But ultimately, I am going to go with the slight favorite here. And I am surprised Andre Sukumta is the betting favorite simply because of how hyped up Sean O'Malley already is coming off Dana White Contender Series. Give me the Asian sensation by unanimous decision, maybe even a split. I think this will be very competitive, but I do think Sukumta will pick up his second UFC victory and send the young, rising, maybe a star eventually back to the drawing boards in his second UFC outing. We move on to, as I said earlier, the people's main event. Frankie the Answer Edgar taking on Brian T. City Ortega in a featherweight title eliminator. What a fight we have on our hands here in the UFC 222 co-main event. Judge, you like Edgar, the former UFC lightweight champion and the former two-time featherweight title challenger, or does Brian Ortega pick up the biggest win of his career back-to-back? Of course, the Cub Swanson won last December. That was his biggest one, but this would top that.
Give me Frankie Edgar. I just think he's got the answers for Brian Ortega.
For what it's worth, just disclaimer: Jed Meshew does never picks Brian Ortega. So
I don't. I was about to say that. I had a conversation. I forget who it was with. Maybe Phil McKenzie. I think it might have been. I think it was Phil McKenzie on Twitter after Ortega tapped out Cub, where we were both in agreement that Brian Ortega is a bad fighter because he is. Like, and we said that I told him, I was like, he said, like, oh, I think Brian Ortega is a bad fighter. I'm convinced that he's a bad fighter who somehow just managed to win. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And I'm going to believe he's a bad fighter all the way up until he wins the belt and then defends it 20 times and enters the Hall of Famer as the greatest of all time. Because Brian Ortega is not good at fighting. He's really good at, like, component parts of fighting, but he's not really good at putting it all together. But he just has found ways to win, and it baffles me. Like, if you just showed me Brian Ortega, I'd be like, that guy is probably a 10-4 fighter. Like, he's clearly got some talent, but like, he shouldn't just be able to tap people out like this. Like, this is the top levels of professional fighting, and like, he's just guillotining people. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to choke you out now, like you're a fucking white belt. And it's not like he is like doing some type of magic. They're like, oh, I've never seen these maneuvers before. Like, he just is really good at finding the win somehow, and it makes no sense. Like, it just, I do not understand him as a fighter. Like, it makes very little sense to me how he has been as successful as he is. He's a slow starter with a disjointed striking game, and a great grappling game, but like no urgency to try and effectuate the grappling game. He lets the fight come to him. And so, like, he has been fortunate in that all of his opponents have at some point, they've all been beating him up until the point they lost. Like, I think Brian Ortega has lost like every moment of every fight he's been in the UFC, except for the last one, which he wins. Good for him. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm not trying to disparage him because I'm not. I actually respect the shit out of his ability to baffle me. But I can't pick him because I will never be able to pick him because I don't think he's good. I think he is good at a thing, and that thing is a thing that I can't really quantify because it's so nebulous to me. Like, and I'm gonna again believe that Frankie Edgar is not just going to walk into a guillotine or some shit, like, because he's Frankie Edgar. Like, he has a precise buttoned up game with a black belt behind his ass that is legit. He's never been stopped. He's not gonna get tapped out on the feet. He's gonna outwork him. I think he should and will take Brian Ortega down and just pound his face into the mat. He's not gonna get triangled. Like, that's just nonsense. But he's probably gonna get triangled because apparently Brian Ortega has magic. Like, he has just magic limbs that find their way to choke people out, and there's no sense to it. It makes no reason. He's going to tap out fucking Max Holloway despite all logic saying the other, and he's going to go on to defend the belt for 20 times and become the greatest fighter of all time, and I'm going to be confused all of his reign. I'm going to be confused for his entire title reign because I will not understand how a guy who is so clearly not supposed to be winning is always winning. So yeah, he's really confusing. I don't understand. I'm picking Frankie Edgar because I'm always going to pick against Brian Ortega, and I'll always be wrong, and I'm okay with it. But at least I'm not alone because Wes Riddle is joining me. He's got Frankie Edgar by unanimous decision. Nicholas, are we unanimous? Are you finally going to go out on a limb? Because God knows you're not going to go out on a limb for the main event.
Give me Frankie Edgar.
You fucking boring. I'm going to take this show away from you. This might be the second week in a row you've picked all chalk.
But what would you do if I picked Yana Kunitskaya?
You're not going to, so I don't need to bother my mind with nonsense.
That'd
no, you
did
pick an underdog last week. Good for you. Yeah, you're not much for picking the underdogs, are you, Nicholas?
No, I feel like the lack of research makes me go to the bestfightodds.com and I say, okay, he's 2-1, he must win, and that doesn't work, but...
Well, anyway, please tell me your thoughts on Franklin Edgar.
Well, and also Brian Ortega. I'm not going to reiterate everything you said because let's be honest. I mean, you're kind of right. I would never say Brian Ortega is a bad fighter, but I see
He's
where
not
you're
a good one.
I see where you're coming from. I totally do. The guy loses most moments of his fights until he wins, and that's great. But you have to think when you're predicting his fights, when does that end? It's not luck because the guy is. To me, I think he is one of the best jiu-jitsu artists in the UFC today. He is so dynamic on the ground.
He clearly is, but
yeah.
But why? Is the thing. Like, well, no, like, if you put him in a grappling contest, like, he's not going to out-grapple. Like, look, Damian Maia is the best thing, but Damian Maia doesn't just wizardly kill somebody out of nowhere. Like,
Brian Ortega is a lot more dynamic than Maia, in my opinion. They're very different styles, and it's hard to compare, but...
Not really. I mean, like, look, I'm not comparing the styles. I'm comparing the results.
Yeah, sure.
But, like, Damian Maia does not just submit everyone as soon as he touches them. It's not, he's going to submit them.
No,
it's true. Many people. But the moment that there's a ground transition, Brian Ortega just has wizarded his way into a choke. Like, it just happens. But these are grown-ass professional men and women. Not women, he's only fighting men. But grown-ass professional fighters who, like, train with really good grapplers who are trying to do the very thing that he is doing, and they can't. And it makes no damn sense. I cannot understand it.
Yeah, I've been higher on Brian Ortega than you have as far as the actual results go. I picked him 4 times in a row, 4-4 cash. I picked him against Diego Brandao. He was losing 2 rounds to none, and then he choked out Diego Brandao with one of the best submissions of
I
2016.
feel like I did pick him over Diego Brandao because
I picked him to beat Clay Guida, and he was down 2-0 and then knocked out Clay Guida. Like how incredible that was that. I picked him against Renato Maiquano. That was a very close fight going into the third, and he choked him out in the third, like with 10 seconds in, 20 seconds in, something like that. And I picked him up against Cub Swanson, and he lost the first round and choked him out in the second with one of the best submissions last year. This guy is incredible, and in many ways, in the sense that he's a great grappler, and he can't do much of anything else. Frankie Edgar, I think he's sort of, or I think Frankie Edgar will finally answer, or I think he'll have the answer for Brian Ortega. I think he'll have the answer of T-City and get the job done. He's better on the feet. Obviously, he is a bit more composed. I have a visitor. I don't know who it is. Okay, anyways, I think he's more composed.
It's a ghost.
And that's not good. If it hits the ground, it'll be very interesting because we just talked about for 5 minutes how good Ortega is on the ground and how quickly he wins fights on the ground. But something inside of me feels like Edgar might be able to take him down and avoid the submissions. I know that's a very crazy thought because Brian Ortega submits everybody.
It's not a crazy thought. I think Frankie Edgar should take him down. I think he's beat the shit out of him on the floor. Frankie Edgar is a fucking mean-ass top position grappler at this point. Like, he beats the hell out of people when he takes them down.
He does, but when you have a crazy jiu-jitsu guy...
Brian Ortega didn't tap Clay Guida.
No, I know.
Frankie Edgar better than Clay Guida.
He is, but he knocked him out.
I mean, good luck with that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I do think that's a better avenue of victory for him is to try and do that. Frankie is old. Frankie ain't gonna get caught.
It's a better path to victory for Ortega to knock Edgar out instead of...
I don't think he can tap him.
Really?
I just genuinely don't think he can tap him.
Okay, that's interesting. I think there is a far greater chance of him tapping Edgar than knocking him out.
I think Edgar's old.
I think he is too. And I think his chin isn't nearly as good as it once was, but
exactly.
I think he's good enough to
get him. I don't think he can tap him.
What's that?
Have we ever seen Frankie Edgar anywhere in the neighborhood next to or around or in the zip code of being caught in a submission?
No, but
yeah,
Brian Ortega catches people that shouldn't be caught, and we just talked about that. You went on a 5 minute...
Swanson, who gets tapped. I mean, like, it was an impressive win, but
okay, we can't
not getting tapped.
Start underestimating Brian Ortega's submission skills. This guy is incredible on the ground.
No, he's a good finisher. He's not tapping Frankie Edgar. I'll eat my shoe if he taps Frankie Edgar.
I'll do that deal.
Unless he hurts. If he hits him and like has him on wobbles and then taps him, that doesn't count. But if he just like cold triangles him, then yeah, I'll eat my shoe.
Okay. Over 3 rounds, this is a very interesting fight. I think does 3 rounds favor Edgar or Ortega? Like, I feel like it probably Edgar a little bit. Like, Ortega has less time to work.
I think it favors Ortega.
Really?
I think Ortega, I mean, we talked about it. Ortega is not a guy who wins decisions. He loses every moment of a fight until he wins. It gives him 10 more minutes to try and find the dynamic fight finishing thing.
All right. Well, anyways, we've spent quite a while on one fight. I'm picking Edgar. You're picking Edgar. Wes is picking Edgar. I'm a coward. We're all going decision, and we think the hype train of Brian Ortega will, for now, be stopped for a little bit. And I'll be disappointed that we don't see Brian Ortega fight Max Holloway this year, which may actually still be possible depending on how quickly Ortega gets back on track. But that is our pick, Frankie Edgar. will shut Brown Ortega down. Might get on top of him, avoid the submissions, but otherwise he'll outstrike him for a UD victory. Edgar gets the answer and gets the title shot against Max Holloway. All right, this should be quick. Main event, UFC Women's Featherweight title, the non-existent Women's Featherweight title, that is. Chris Cyborg, Yana Kunitskaya. How does Chris Cyborg win?
First round KO. I think this is extremely straightforward. I think Chris, to give us some more, I think Chris Cyborg is beatable. I think she's getting older and slower, and I would pick Valentina Shevchenko to beat her. And I would, Valentina Shevchenko is the best fighter on the planet. That's a woman. And I would also pick Amanda Nunes. When that fight got bandied about, I was going to take Amanda Nunes and felt very good about taking Amanda Nunes there. I think in the last fight, like, Holly Holm's the best fighter she ever faced, and I think she won. I think I gave her 4 rounds, and arguably it won all 5, but I just think she looked noticeably slower, noticeably not as sharp. And I think that, she's been around for a long time, competing for a long time. Yana Kunitskaya is not the person that's going to beat her or upset this apple cart. Like, this is just a squash match. And here's the thing: when Cyborg first was fighting the UFC, before they gave her a title, I wrote a piece for a website that's now defunct, but I argued strongly that they should build a 145 division and just give her a belt. And they didn't even have to build a division, but just give Cyborg a belt to put on posters and just market her as Tyson, and just have her feed her anybody who would fight her and kill her. I think this is the type of fight you should be doing with Cyborg. Like, Yana Kunitskaya, it doesn't matter. And there's talk about, like, how this has been a botched promotion, and, like, it has to an extent, but it's also because it was a last-minute card saver promotion. But I think you just do this one again. Like, you don't have to book the Nunes fight. I think it's not a bad idea to book the Nunes fight, assuming Nunes gets through Rocky Pennington. And frankly, I'm considering taking Raquel Pennington in that fight, but that's another matter. But if Nunes gets through Raquel Pennington, I think at that point you do Nunes Cyborg. But if you don't, for some reason you can't, or Nunes gets hurt in the fight, I think you just do this. Like, Megan Anderson, I know that's still like a fight you can do, but if not, just pick a random 135er or 145er that you can get your hands on, slaughter in against Cyborg, but give it a full, like, 12-week promotion build with an actual package and a plan behind it, saying, this is Chris Cyborg. She, like, the one thing they can do is, this person's incredible, they kill people. You can do that with Chris Cyborg because it's true. Build a package, build a moment behind her, and let her kind of ascend into this thing. If you put enough money and advertising behind it to make people interested to see what this is, she is the type of fighter who is almost guaranteed to give you a payoff for it. So if they can get more eyeballs on her, people will watch her and be like, holy shit, she's just fucking awesome. And, like, so I think that this is a fine fight to do. They just didn't have enough time to do it. It's probably not going to do that well on pay-per-view, but yeah, goodbye, Yana Kunitskaya. It was fun to see you.
I don't need to go on nearly that long about a Chris Cyborg mismatch, to be quite frank. I like Chris Cyborg here by knockout in round number 1. If it goes to the second, I won't be shocked because, well, other fighters have taken Chris Cyborg to the second. I'm not including Holly Holm because that was a legit fight and way closer than any other Chris Cyborg fights we've seen in the past couple of years or really ever. But Leslie Smith, Lena Landsberg took her to the second, I believe. Tanya Evinger took her to the third, I think it was. And so, yeah, I mean, Chris Cyborg, we don't see tons of, like, just straight up first round KOs anymore, but you might get one. If not, second round. I mean, 10 minutes doesn't really matter. First round, second round, even third round doesn't really change much here. Chris Cyborg is not going to lose tomorrow. Yana Kunitskaya, okay, she can grapple. That's her best chance. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. Sorry, but Chris Cyborg will retain the, whatever you want to call it, the supposed UFC Women's Featherweight title, the joke of a UFC Women's Featherweight title, and that'll be that. And we'll move on and have another bantamweight fight Chris Cyborg. That's sort of the plan, I guess. West, or Jed, I should say, did West give, did you say
TK
West?
in the second round.
Okay, second round. There we go. Well, that does it for the show as far as our picks go. Let's move on to our post-fight bonus predictions and underdog pick of the week, and then we'll round that out with DraftKings. Will, we'll sort of put a line between them. Just give me your bonuses and your underdog pick of the week, and then you can follow that with Wes's as well.
My bonuses, my fight of the night this week is going. Actually, why am I going first? I am the champion. I get to go last. I'll give you Wes's. Wes's pick for fight of the night is Edgar Ortega, the co-main event of the evening. His bonuses are going to Andre Sukumta, who is predicting to get a third-round TKO victory, and Chris Cyborg. He's saying he gets a second-round KO victory. His underdog pick of the week, he took two this week. He took Kat Zingano and CB Dollaway. He has decided to back Clarence Byron Dollaway as his underdog pick of the week. Nikolai, who are your bonuses?
Well, my underdog pick of the week is going to be tough, considering I haven't picked a single underdog, so that's going to be fun. I'll save that for a minute or two. My bonuses, my fight of the night will be Sean O'Malley versus Andre Sukumta. I'm looking forward to that one. I don't mind that it's on pay-per-view just because I do think it'll be fun, and Sean O'Malley, they're trying to hype him up. I get it. So that's my fight of the night. My performances, I hate to give one to Chris Cyborg just because she doesn't really need the money compared to, say, Zach Otto, but I think she'll get one. The other one, it can go to a variety of different fighters. I think Hector Lombard could get it. I think Mackenzie Dern could get it. I think even Caitlin Vieira could get it. Maybe Beneil Dariush, Zach Otto. I mean, there's a lot of potential candidates for it. Chris Cyborg seems to be a lock, I would think, as the headliner. The other one, they'll probably just give it to Mackenzie Dern.
And your underdog? I need one.
Underdog pick of the week. Okay, let's see who I'm most confident in, or the least confident, if that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, so it's either going to be Sean O'Malley, Brian Ortega, or I guess CB Dollaway. Let's make it Sean O'Malley.
What a dickhead you are.
Sorry, Jed. Got to do what you got to do. I'm trying to be the champ here. You guys take away those titles. At least a champ. Not even champ. I can't get that cocky, but champ. That's what I want. That's what I'm going for.
It's going to be tough. I guess maybe not. So my fight of the night, Sean O'Malley, Andre Sukumta. I just think the fight's going to be a banger. My underdog pick, I picked Dollaway, Pyle, and O'Malley. I'm backing O'Malley because I am the most confident he is going to get it done. My performances, I'm giving one to my boy Mike Pyle. Like I said, I think he's going to do it, and I'm believing him. My other performance bonus, I hated to do it, but how do you not pick Chris Cyborg? Like, she's probably going to get something really violent, so I picked Chris Cyborg for my other one. I was surprised there. Oh no, you did go Cyborg Dern. Cyborg Dern is a strong team there.
Headliner and someone they love. So
yeah. And they're both probably going to finishes. I'll just run us into our DraftKings. Wes Riddle has Cyborg, Edgar, Munoz, Pyle, Sukumta, Stamen as his 6. That is Cyborg, Edgar, Munoz, Pyle, Sukumta, and Stamen. I share 3 with Wes. I also have Cyborg, Edgar, and Pyle. Makes sense. I'm picking both. I'm picking Pyle as an underdog, Edgar and Cyborg. I am also taking CB Dollaway, an underdog I'm picking, and Sean O'Malley, another underdog I'm picking, and then I rounded out with Ketlin Vieira. It was a tough team to make because I put Cyborg on my squad. Maybe I kick her off and try and get a little more value somewhere else in there. But yeah, that's my 6. What about you? Let's wrap it up.
We share 2 of 6. Do you want to take a stab at what 2 those may be?
Cyborg.
No.
Oh, wow. You don't have her on your team.
I do not have Cyborg or Frankie Edgar.
Oh, well then O'Malley and Vieira?
That would be correct. So kick things off with Sean O'Malley, who is my underdog pick of the week. So he's a dog. He was cheap, and I think he's going to be a fun fight. I think he's going to lose, but I think he'll get enough points where it's kind of worth the value at $8,000, which still isn't really super cheap, but it fit, and I don't mind the pick. Goes to Caitlin Vieira. Then Mackenzie Dern, big favorite here, 9,000. Stefan Struve, don't love it just because I think that's kind of a close fight, but if he wins, it could be a stoppage and might get a lot of points. And Hector Lombard, I don't love, especially at 8,400 because that's a coin toss. And then I wrap things up with a pretty sizable underdog on DraftKings, Brian Ortega. So that's Hector Lombard, Stefan Struve, Mackenzie Dern, Caitlin Vieira, Sean O'Malley, and Brian Ortega. Ultimately, I don't hate this team because I'm picking 4 of the 6 fighters on it, all by stoppage. The other 2, I think, could win. I think O'Malley really could win. I think Ortega has a decent chance as well. So I don't hate my team. I changed 2 of the fighters before, as basically halfway through the show, I made a quick switch. I initially had Dariush and Stamen instead of Struve Dern. So I don't know what I love better. My thoughts are Dariush would have gotten the finish. Stamen wouldn't have. Stamen has gotten a lot of points in his UFC career thus far, but step up in competition, that might have gone down. Struve gets finished, Dern gets a finish.
Yep, good night.
I think I don't mind my changes. And I think that's it. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. I hope I didn't lose every single viewer we have because I just explained my whole drafting team and all of that. And hopefully I don't lose my co-host as well. Thank you all for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Preferably if you didn't enjoy it, don't give us a thumbs down, but thumbs up would be nice. Subscribe to the channel, The MMA Circus, if you haven't already. And any feedback for this show or any other show I do or anything else Jed or I do, drop a note down in the comment section down below, and we would appreciate that as well. Jed, you got to get out of here. You can
find my writing at MMAfighting.com.
So let them know where they can find you, Jed.
You can find my writing at MMAfighting.com. Follow me on Twitter at JedKMeshew, JedKMeshew. I will tweet during the fights tomorrow, so you can listen to all the wonderful things I have to say there. It's been an honor and a privilege, sir.
Has it been? Has it really been a privilege to talk to me for the past half hour?
I'm about to hang up.
Jed, it is your lucky day. I've done quite a few interviews, so let me just really fast go through them. Today, I talked to Max Griffin, Kevin Lee. Earlier last week, I talked to Michael Chiesa, Jimmy Rivera, Nick Newell, Ilir Latifi, Tyson Pedro, EBI champion John Calistine, Ali Quinta, Darren Caldwell, Leandro Higo, Stephen Ray, Alexander Volkanovski, Mariusz Jonskevich, Don Madge, and we will stop there. Check out my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. Check out me on Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. Hit me up, follow me, and I would certainly appreciate that as well. Check out my other shows, The MMA Circus and Beyond Combat. Beyond Combat, I had Steffi Haynes on to talk about her business, the Haynes House. That is it. Thank you all for watching. We appreciate it. For Jed Meshew, my name is Nick Baldwin. Wesley Riddle somewhere. Enjoy the fights on Saturday night, tomorrow. Bye.
Tonight on my time. Love you guys.